Hi YouTube, it is Brownie from the Young Zings. How y'all doing today? How's it hanging? I'm doing just fine, thank you very much. Today we have a card discussion video pertaining to Limited and Forbidden list. Last time we talked about Raigeki and decreed that it should probably go to 0. However, I had a little asterisk at the end of that saying that it's not the biggest problem in the world, but it should probably eventually, in the near future, get the hell away. But, that's just kind of what I think. Today we're going to talk about more of a bigger problem that I feel a little more strongly about, and that is the infamous Vanity's Emptiness, debuting in Star Strike Blast, which I think was 2010. I might have that year wrong. It came as a short print common. It was largely unplayed until it really took steam in the Dragon Ruler format in 2013. It's one of its infamous uses at its debut, I guess, into the meta was in Dragon Ruler format. Essentially, Patrick Coben played like 2 or 3 in his winning Nationals deck because he gave him a huge edge in the mirror match where you just throw down a ruler, flip Emptiness. They don't have MST, they lose. It's just kind of rough, or Blaster, but still, it kind of gave him a lot of advantage in the mirror match. Vanity's Emptiness was put to 1 in the April 2015 ban list, along with Skill Drain. And that was a largely celebrated hit to the card. And it's funny, it had just been reprinted in the Secret Forces. It was like a $30 card. And then in February, like, oh, here, everybody gets Vanity's Emptiness. And then they put it to 1. And the list after that, like, now you can't. But, oh well. So I'm going to have 2 main ideas I'm going to talk about. I'm going to compare it to other floodgates, but I'm also going to compare it to these 2 cards down here, the Snatch Steal and the Jin, and I'll kind of explain like a trend that I saw with those cards I think might indicate that Vanity's Emptiness needs to go away. First, we're going to start with the other floodgates, and I kind of talk about what differences, I guess, between them. Royal Impression and Vanity's Emptiness, they are the same card, because they both do the same thing, but the main difference is that Royal Oppression does not kill itself. And it can also negate. It says like negate special summons of monsters. It's like you can't even attempt. With Advanced Emptiness, you can't attempt, but this one like negates ones. I don't know, but like you wouldn't try anyway. The main difference between these is that Royal Oppression doesn't turn itself off like Vanity's Emptiness does. And that's actually arguably why Vanity's Emptiness is actually kind of better than Royal Oppression a lot of times, is because you do all your stuff during your turn, and then you turn over to your turn, and your opponent tries something, alright, Vanity's Emptiness, and then they can't do anything, and on your turn you're going to turn it off, which isn't that hard to do nowadays. Sometimes it requires a little bit of tinkering, but it's not impossible to do. Some decks can kind of do it pretty easily. It's kind of obnoxious, and arguably makes Vanity's Emptiness a little bit better. It's a lot similar to Imperial Order. Back in the day when Imperial Order first came out, it was really broken because spell cards were pretty big back then. I mean, there's some pretty big spell cards that were back in the day. I think, like, pretty sure, like, they had Reborn, they had Heavy Storm, they had, I think Delinquent Duo might have been still legal. I don't know if it was legal during Order time, but essentially, you had all these crazy spell cards that were legal, and you play all your spell cards during your turn, and switch it over to your opponent's turn. They activate a spell card, flip Imperial Order. You cannot activate any spell cards at all, sir. I'm very sorry. And your opponent's like, oh darn, I have to pass. So he passes, and during your turn, you get to decide one of two options. Your first option is to pay 700 life points, but your second option is just to destroy the card. And hey, if you destroy the card, you can activate all your spells. So that's what people would do. Your opponent couldn't activate any spells on their turn, but when it comes around your turn, get rid of Imperial Order just like that, turn it off, and activate all the spells that you want. That is arguably why the card got banned. It's probably why it's not going to come back, because it essentially was like, okay, it's really just your opponent, but you just turn it off when it came to your turn. So Vanity's Emptiness is kind of similar in that fact, and that's kind of a bad sign. I always think it's absurd when I try to make a play, my opponent stops it, and with Vanity's Emptiness, like completely, I can't do anything because I don't like MST or anything. And the second they go to their turn, they have some way to turn it off. I'm like, well, I mean, that's kind of rough. Comparing it to Mistake and Skill Drain, people think Mistake should go to 1. I don't really care. It's one of those things where like, it's at 3. I'm like, it's fine, but at 1, like, it's fine. Like, it deserves to go to 1, but I don't think it will. I guess. It's not that big of a deal. I'm indifferent to mistake on the list. But it's not like Vanity's Emptiness because it doesn't kill itself and it's not a player. Vanity's Emptiness, like again, is that big thing where that's supposed to be. I feel like that clause where it kills itself just kind of makes it a little more broken. With Dragon's Mind, it's like the new Vanity's Emptiness that comes out in Breakers of Shadow. It's gonna be kind of nutty because it's not gonna kill itself as efficiently as Vanity's Emptiness does, because there are ways if you just exceed someone with a monster, Dragon's Mind's gonna stick around, so we're gonna have a low. People are not gonna like this card, but that's gonna be archetype specific. I don't mind if decks have archetype specific or like deck specific emptinesses. I'm fine with like archetype. I've always been in favor of archetype support rather than generic support because archetypal support can be handled more specifically on the list and just and keeps like other decks that kind of fall in the same generic range from abusing the card. That's kind of why Dragon's Mind is arguably a little bit more balanced than Vanity's Emptiness in the fact that it's not as generic. With Skill Drain is absolutely absurd. I hate this card, but it's fine at 1. That's kind of how I feel about it. I hate it, but it's fine at 1. I don't think it should be banned because it doesn't kill itself and it's for both players. So it turns it into Caveman Yu-Gi-Oh, but the fact that it doesn't kill itself is pretty big because it's literally like, all right, so I'm gonna throw on 1 monster effects. I'm gonna pass turn, and then if you activate monster effect, I'm gonna flip Skill Drain, and you can't do anything. And then when it comes to my turn, I'm just gonna turn off. That's kind of why Skill Drain's fine. But my biggest revelation in terms of Vanity's Emptiness is comparing it to cards like Jin, Releaser Ritual, and Snatch Steal. When Snatch Steal had been around for a little bit, we were kind of getting sick of the card. It stole games. It really did. I can't really put it any more bluntly than that. Snatch Steal stole games. I had a lot of opponents, both at regionals and on like at locals, who even if they know I played Snatch Steal, even if I beat them with Snatch Steal, they'd be like, yeah, do you want to side out Snatch Steal? I'm like, yeah. So we both show our Snatch Steals, put on top of the side deck, and well, it's good. We have a game 2 or 3 without Snatch Steal in it, where we come out of that game feeling like we both had the best chance we could at winning that game. With Jin, it was kind of a similar situation. Oh, we lost. Well, with Jin, Releaser of Rituals, it was kind of in a similar situation where we had in Necros format. Yeah, I'm trying to recompose myself here. In Jin, with Jin being legal in Necros format, the problem was that excuse me, let me just get back together here. The problem was with Jin in Necros format is that a lot of players thought it took a lot of the skill out of the game, and like they would just side it out because they wanted it to have the best chance possible of winning. And that's kind of that's kind of a similar trend I see with Vanity's Emptiness, because I see a lot of players asking me to side this out. It doesn't mean that matter if like I beat them with it or if someone like wins because of Vanity's Emptiness. They say, all right, do you want to side with Vanity's Emptiness? Everyone asked me to do it. Everyone at locals asked me to do it. There were more than half of my opponents at regionals asked me to set out Vanity's Emptiness if I didn't ask them. It's just kind of that's kind of an unfortunate trend I've been kind of seeing with it. That's kind of like just kind of an indication that people are kind of fed up with the card. It's just kind of it kind of takes away your chances of winning, because like it's literally like if my opponent draws Vanity's Emptiness and I don't have an out for it, that's just kind of all she wrote. But that's I don't know. Again, it's not the biggest problem in the game, but it's I don't know. It's kind of dumb. Yeah, I can't really put it out any other way except it's just kind of dumb. But I'd love to know what you guys think. I know most of the people think that Vanity's Emptiness is probably on the to zero side. I see most people are in favor of banning this card outright. But of course, if you think differently, I want to hear your opinion. Go ahead and lay it on me. I know some people are in favor of cards like Vanity's Emptiness and Thunder King Ryo to keep the game in check, so to speak. I don't really go that far. Like, I feel like I don't really mind the game like being super fast, as long as all the decks are fast. Like, it's diversely fast. Like, that's fine. But I don't really believe in this idea that they need to be around to keep them in check. But of course, let me know what you all think. Do you think Vanity's Emptiness should go to 1, 2, 3, or what I think, 0? Let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz and nonsense, and I'll see you all next time.